What is going on, my fellow nerds? Operator Otter here, and this is going to be the first build guide of the series that we're going to be doing, and we're going to come out with a banger because this was an absolute fan favorite in Season 3, and this is the Bombardier Necromancer. Now, the thing about the version of this build is that utilizing Black River and Ring of the Sacrilegious has kind of lost a lot of the value because of what I was talking about in the PTR patch notes, being that legendaries with their tempering affixes are just so strong that they are kind of outweighing the power of what can the uniques give us anymore. And until they buff the uniques, it's going to be really hard for a lot of builds to dip into that hybrid build, being the corpse explosion with the main skill being what it is and how Ring of Starless Skies functioned and everything with it. It was just this nice perfect synergy. And now, because these legendaries are so good, it's not that we can't run the same build anymore. It's just I think we can actually be stronger because of the legendary tempers, but there also comes a con to it where we're going to be sacrificing a couple of the utility things to do, and we got to figure out the puzzle of how we're going to make that work. So when we're talking about the Bombardier Necromancer, the first thing that we need to talk about is we can't really opt into having both Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion damage. We can kind of opt into one or the other, and we kind of have to make that choice. Now, for this variant of the build, I have opted into more aiming into Corpse Explosion doing the damage because there's so many temper effects that we can have that modify Corpse Explosion to just be so much more effective, and then we're going to combo that on top of Black River with Ring of the Sacrilegious, and we're basically going to use Bone Spear not as a damaging thing. We're going to be using Bone Spear and its ability to generate a lot of corpses, and we're actually going to mix this with minions. We're going to be casting a lot of Bone Spears everywhere, and what this is going to do is generate a lot of corpses for us so that our Black River and our Ring of the Sacrilegious can just go absolutely haywire, and we can really detonate these super powerful corpse explosions that are really huge and cover the entire screen, and it's going to be super cool. Is it going to be the best build? No, but God, is it going to be fun. If this is like a Diablo dad's casual, easy build to play that's going to be very visually satisfying. It's going to be a very fun build to play. So let's get into it. So we are still running the Black River plus the Ring of the Sacrilegious combo. Obviously, that's going to work, but we are losing Lidless Wall. And so the first thing that we need to figure out is how are we going to keep up Bone Storm? That's going to be the first thing that we need to do. The way that we're going to do this is that in our focus, we're going to be running Bone Storm Duration. And then in our ring, we're going to be running Ranks to Rapid Ossification. Now, what this does is that as we're spending resource, and because we're not using Ring of Starless Skies, we're going to be spending a lot of resource. This is actually going to synergize really well with Rapid Ossification, because now, instead of it being every 100 essence, you reduce it by 1.5, it's going to be every 100 essence, you're actually going to be reducing it by 3. So that's going to be good. And the increased Bone Storm duration now means the Bone Storm is going to last for 13.6 seconds. So you have 13.6 seconds with the cooldown reduction that we're going to have in the build, which should be about 30%. This is going to bring the cooldown of Bone Storm down to about 42 seconds. So we have 13.5 seconds to reduce the cooldown of Bone Storm by 30 seconds. And if we are able to spend enough essence, I'm going to say that we can proc Rapid Ossification probably about 4 or 5 times within that window. That means we're going to reduce it by about 15 seconds. And then we also have Decrepify, doing Decrepify things with a really high lucky hit chance modifier of Bone Spear. And so we should be able to get the Bone Storm cooldown reset really fast, and that's going to work out really well. Now, the other thing that we're going to be doing with this build is we're going to be comboing it with minions. So the minions, they kind of got nerfed and how often they can cast the Bone Spears. If you don't know what's happening, go check the PTR video of like what's going on with that, but that doesn't really matter. What we need to do is that we need to get these minions attacking as fast as possible. And so as we attack more quickly, we're going to cast out more Bone Spears from the minions. And so that's kind of what we've done. If you look at the attack speed bonus here, we have 95.3%. So we're almost nearly maxed in what we can do in terms of the attack speed. And we can't really get attack speed anywhere else, unfortunately. We're kind of double rolling, and I don't want to triple roll the masterworking here because that's going to be very hard to do. You can do a double one. Double ones is very possible, but a triple one is really, really hard. So we're just going to keep it at that. And so at 95.3%, your minions are going to be attacking quite quickly, and we're also going to be running accelerating in our focus. This is going to allow us to actually bypass the 100%, because if we look here, accelerating is the second cap, right? It's a second bucket. It's not the first bucket. First bucket is gear and Paragon, and the second bucket is going to be skills and aspects. So we're actually going to get a little bit faster attack speed. I would love to run Reap in this build, but we just don't have the space for it. Enhanced Reap would give us another 30%, but that'll be okay. So we are going to be attacking very quick. Because we're running using one hand with accelerating, we're going to have 120% attack speed, and we're just going to be launching out bone spears at maximum velocity. Now, this creates another problem because if we're going to be using this without utilizing the construct that gives us the resource and Ring of Starless Skies, which reduces the resource cost of Bone Spear, then we're in a pretty weird position where we're going to be spending a lot of resource really quickly. Now, obviously, the Ring of the Sacrilegious and Black River combo is going to give us 30 essence per second when we're detonating these corpses. That's going to be really good. But the other thing that we can do right here in the gloves is that we can run this up to 5% chance to restore primary essence, as our minions are just passively casting these Bone Spears, and Bone Spear has such a high lucky hit chance rate. The theory is that we're going to be able to restore a lot of our essence very quickly with this. We're also going to be running the maximum amount of the essence on kill in our Paragon, so that is going to work out quite well. So that is basically the idea. Now, the last thing that we need to talk about is the crit rate, because obviously that's a very powerful thing. We need to have a lot of crit in this build, and if you look right here, my crit chance is only 31.5%. So how in the world are we actually getting to 100% crit? Well, when we run Amulet in our Grasping Veins and our Amulet, we're actually going to get 38%, and then we have Bone Storm, which is going to be 20%. So 20 plus 38% is going to be 58%. So 58% plus 32% is going to be 90%. And we're asking ourselves, where are we going to get that extra 10% crit hit chance? And we're going to get it right here in Inspiring Leader. So with Inspiring Leader and the Grasping Veins and the Bone Storm, we're actually going to meet this 100% breakpoint, because as you can see, as I modify this, it's not modifying the critical strike chance in the Diablo 4 banner, but you will have 12% increased critical hit chance. And it's important to do that because we want 100% crit chance for our corpse explosion to just go boom. The last thing that I want to talk about is how the actual corpse explosions are going to be doing their damage. Obviously, we're going to be running the corpse explosion damage basically anywhere we can. We have corpse explosion damage here, we have corpse explosion damage here, we have three things of corpse explosion size, because the AoE can max out at 100%, so we have 3 of those. We have 2 corpse tendril sizes, so that's going to be 100% corpse tendril size. We have 100% corpse explosion size. We have corpse explosion damage where we can get it, so we have 3 places where we have the corpse explosion damage, which is going to give us another about 420% additive corpse explosion damage, which is going to be really good. And then we also, in our Paragon, we're going to be running Exhumation, which is completely fully pumped, so that's going to be another 208% corpse explosion damage. The Consuming the Corpse fortifying us is going to be really strong. The fact that our Hewed Flesh has 5 ranks, and we're going to be creating all these corpses with the minions and the Bone Spear, and they fixed it to where Necrotic Carapace being procced by Hewed Flesh actually now works. We're going to be fortified the entire time, which means we have 15% damage reduction basically all times with the combination of Exhumation and Necrotic Carapace. And then lastly, the cool little thing that we're going to be doing here is we're going to be running Tybalt's Will. Now, the reason being is because we're going to be running the Metamorphosis in our boots. We have 200% movement speed in this build, so you don't need to worry about that. Even though down here it says that our movement speed is 163.9%, I promise you we actually do have 200%. What we're going to do here is we're going to be running the new attacks reduce evade cooldown that has been buffed, and when our Ring of the Sacrilegious naturally detonates a corpse, this is actually going to affect this. When Ring of the Sacrilegious is detonating corpse, it actually affects this in our combination with us casting our Bone Spears. So this is going to literally reset the cooldown of this evade super fast. We have 200% movement speed, and we're constantly going to be able to dash. So we're going to be really fast. We're going to be cruising. Like, this is probably going to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest, Necromancer build utilizing this. And then obviously we just get that 20% damage multiplier. And when we become unstoppable, it's going to give us resource as well, which is going to fix some of our resource issues with the fact that we no longer are running Ring of Starless Skies. So this is how the build is kind of functioning. I think it's going to be really strong. It's going to be really fun. I mean, honest to God, if you are able to put this together in the beginning of the game, I think this is actually going to be like one of the best things you can do at the very beginning of the game. Even though minions are as strong as they are, minions don't really have AoE, and until you start tempering and getting all your little effects to like do what they're doing, you can't get the corpse explosion to do like a bunch of AoE damage, and you can't like move really fast. Whereas with this build, it's pretty easy to put together, and it's super effective with the Black River Ring of Sacrilegious combo. Just letting Corpse Explosion do all the work for you, and Bone Spear just has really good natural scaling with just the splintering aspect and the aspect of Grasping Veins. So I think this is definitely going to be a super fun, high A tier build. I don't think it's going to be best for pits, but God, is it going to be fun. It's going to be very visually satisfying. I think it's going to be a fan favorite still. I think this is actually going to be like everyone's still like go-to fun build just because of how cool it is. So yes, this is not a 6 or 7 minute video. This is a fan favorite, but I want to start the first one off with a banger. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Stay tuned for tomorrow where we're going to be talking about the next build on our list, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Operator Otter out.